Hello everybody, Jen from Scrapping Under the Influence. So this is going to be more of I had done a series of reels on Instagram and TikTok showing making a little golden book junk journal. Okay, so this little guy right there. And then I decided I was going to do a little bit longer format, something that was not a golden book, that was still a children's book. And like I said, do a little more long format. So I'm going to, and I apologize, I decided after I'd already taken the book apart and built my spine, like this part of my spine, that I was going to do it that way. So the first part of this is going to be a little funky, but I kind of talked through like how I decorate, walk through decorating part of one of the signatures with you, walk through tags, and just some various things. It's probably a little disorganized. This is, like, when I make these, this is the most disorganized I ever get in here. Like, there will be stuff spread absolutely everywhere, and I'm digging through piles of things looking for things. So it's not going to be my typical tutorial. It is more of a process video, kind of a, you know, what my thinking is behind doing different things. So let's just take a quick, because at the very end I go through the entire book. So I took this book apart, this Dinosaur Time by Peggy Parrish. I had this book as a kid. I distinctly remember this because there's like one dinosaur in here that just creeped me out as a kid. But I'll talk you through like how I put my signatures together, how I decided what was going to go where, that kind of thing. I go through how to do, oh, that came untied, how to do the paper clips and, you know, tags and different things. You know, my thinking behind using this page, attaching something to the back to make this page more of a pocket instead of just, you know, like a normal center. You know, just kind of everything. Like, you know, how to use the envelopes, how to use the paper bags, all that kind of thing. I cannot take credit for any of those processes. I have learned all of this taking classes with Junk Gypsy Sisters. They routinely do classes with either golden books or, you know, books like this, or just like a book base that they've torn the pages out of, like a vintage book. Sometimes it's books from like Dollar Tree, from yard sales, whatever, and then you build the entire thing yourself. You're not building it, you know, keeping a story intact or a book intact. And it's just, to me, it's just a very fascinating process, and it's just, it's very freeing. Like, this is one of them that used to scare the crap out of me as a kid. And this guy gave me nightmares. Anyway, I need to fix that. I keep forgetting. But so, you know, I'll walk through kind of my whole process with this, you know, how I kind of think through how I'm going to do these things. But if you're new to this and this is something you want to try, this will kind of give you an idea of, you know, how I do these and how I've learned how to do these. Everybody does it differently. I know on TikTok right now, the junk journaling is huge, where they are taking like a composition notebook and keeping little bits and bobs from their everyday life and doing a collage page every single day. It's very cool. However, I don't leave the house, okay? I work from home. I literally come from my office across the hall over here. You know, once I'm done over there for the day, I'm coming in here and I'm working on my website, and I'm working on, you know, if I'm caught up on that kind of thing, I'm working on design team. If I'm caught up on that, then I'm doing things like this. You know, I don't go out where I'm collecting little bits and bobs and things that I could do that kind with. It's very cool. If that works for you, that's awesome. It doesn't work for me. For me, it's more of like an artistic process, I guess. But there you go. So yeah, like the little envelope there. You know, I walk through how to do the tags with the napkins and with fabric. Where's my fabric one? I don't know. I didn't see it. It's in here somewhere. Oh wait, I think I just saw it. Is that it? No, I just saw the edge of it. Anyway, you know, so it's, there he is. Let's see, fabric on that one. You know, so it's a process, and everybody has their own style, and everybody does it a little bit differently. And this one, I did a lot more, a lot of elements. This one, I didn't do as many like this one because this was one of my favorite books as a kid. I kept this one fairly simple, so like I didn't do a whole lot of decorating. I didn't do a whole lot of embellishing. I did tags and things. I had all kinds of super cute little flashcards and things that I just tucked in pockets. You know, I did make some tags, but again, there's not a wrong way to do this. Okay, so that's kind of what this video is going to be. It probably is going to run a little bit long because I did tend to explain a lot of things, but hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully this is something that kind of gives you a little bit of insight. Feel free to fast forward and skip around and whatnot, and let's get into it. Okay, so the first like 7 or 8 minutes, this is where I was going to do this as another set of reels and then changed my mind. So first thing I'm going to do is take this book apart. So this book was completely sewn. It was not like the little golden books. When I take those apart, there's typically staples. This one was actually sewn. I wanted to keep the cover. Initially, I started out trying to keep the cover completely intact and maybe just make it a smaller one. And I do end up like cutting the cover off, but I'm just in there with a box cutter type knife, cutting all of that stitching that's holding this book together. So you can see there, I finally get it kind of pulled apart. And then I'm gonna just, you know, kind of keep going over that lightly so that I don't tear something I don't mean to tear. And I can get those pages out of the center off the spine there. So this is an older book. It was from the early 70s. So it's got some nice patina on there, and I'm just, you know, kind of trying to figure out how this is actually put together, if it is in signature, so, you know, 2 pages attached together and folded, or if it's individual pages. And it does end up being signatures. I had a couple of like random, there's like some random blank pages at the front and back that I did end up pulling off, just because they did get fairly damaged when I was taking the whole thing apart. So that's somewhere in here is my center. This had more pages than the little golden books typically do, so it was a little bit, it took a little bit to try and figure out like where everything really kind of came apart. There we go. And of course, right up there, creepy dinosaur. Anyway, absolutely does not matter. I did have to, I think, end up doing a little bit of repair. And there's, in addition to it being stitched in, there was actually some glue and whatnot. So I was trying to get some of those, you know, spots where there was glue that was kind of sticking, you know, stuff to it from the cover, and kind of get those cleaned up a little bit. I think I did more of that off camera. I honestly don't remember for sure. But at this point, I'm just trying to get the pages opened up and get the signatures kind of sorted out here, because again, because of how this book was constructed, this one was a little bit more challenging. I haven't taken one apart that was done like this, so this was absolutely a learning curve for me. And so there's my signature with my first signature for the overall finished book. And I'm just trying to get some of this glue and whatnot off of there, because it was just kind of messy. I don't know. So I'm getting this opened up, same type of thing. I'm just trying to get this flattened. Make sure nothing's like weirdly stuck together. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff from the cover that is on the edges of, the edges of this one. So I'm just trying to kind of peel that off, trying not to damage the pages. as best I can. There may have been a better way to do this than the way I was doing it. But, you know, you learn by doing it. Okay, so those are my 2 signatures. I'm going to get all the gunk off of that, and then I do end up taking my craft knife and slicing those covers off, or the center spine section out of this, actually. Because that's where like all the glue and kind of ick was on this one. Okay, so this one's going to be a little bit different because I did have to cut the spine apart on this. It was sewn together. I was able to get, there are actually 2 signatures in here, so I was able to get those apart, which is good. But to put this cover together was going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to do it kind of like I would do a mini album. So I'm using red cardstock, and what I'm going to do on the front and back is I'm going to do this so that this little flexible piece is attaching to the outside edge on this piece. And then, crying out loud, I will fold the top and bottom over to kind of reinforce that, and then I've got a second piece to cover up the inside. So the cardstock, of course, is cut to the same height. That's what it's looking like from the other side. And then, I don't know, I had chipboard in my drawer that had tape on it already, so I did that and then was like, I shouldn't have done it that way, but that's okay. Should have grabbed a different scrap, but that's okay. This will still work, hopefully. And if not, I'll learn my lesson. So, what I'm going to do before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and fold this over and down. Same here, over and down. So I've wrapped that end. And then this piece is just going to go across the middle. And I want to find the chipboard in here and kind of burnish that down. So similar to how I would have put together a mini album cover, but we want it to bend where the chipboard is, not where that other piece of the spine is, if that makes sense. There we go. So the one side bent just fine. This side is kind of fighting with me a little bit. I probably need to burnish that down a little bit better. So the front part is good. That bent where I wanted it to. The back part I'm still kind of fighting with. It doesn't quite want to cooperate. And it's trying to come loose at the same time. There we go. That should help. And I may have to come in here with some glue to finish that off, and that's fine. But there is my cover. Okay, so as you saw from the first like 7 minutes or so, I initially was going to do this as a series of reels like I did with the other one, and then decided to do this as a more kind of a process video, like a long form process video. So you saw me cut this apart and literally very unevenly build my cover. I did end up adding the rickrack just to kind of reinforce where that piece was coming around on the front, just because it was smaller because I didn't want to cover up my dinosaur. So at this point I am ready to get this to where I can do, or to punch my holes in it so I can run my, my elastic through, which I do actually need to get some more elastic. So, all right, so this is 8 3/4 high, and I'm gonna just use my centering 8 3/4. Yeah, 8 3/4. Okay. My centering ruler. I'm going to go in about that far, and I'm going to come in like a quarter, not quite a quarter of an inch, about a quarter of an inch. I'm going to come over here and do the same. Okay. And then I can get my crocodile that apparently didn't get put away the other day. And I'm going to use the smallest of the two holes. I've just got my little pokey tool just to clear that out so I can see through it to line it up. And then I'm just going to punch my holes. Okay, and then do it again on the other end. I don't know, I have to see what I have as far as my elastic cord. I need to get some heavier, but for now I'm just going to use the stuff I typically use, which is actually just out of like the children's craft area at Michael's. I've had it forever. I don't know if they still have it in there or not. I know I could probably find it on Amazon. Honestly, I haven't gone looking for it because I've had it, and what I got has worked okay for the most part. Okay, so those are good. And then I would just take my elastic cord. Kind of a moss green, which I think is what we're going to use here. So yeah, this is just, because I know this one's actually fairly thick. The other card of it I have that's got some other colors on it isn't quite as thick as this one. Come on. There we go. Maybe. There's the end. So where did my end go? Yeah, I need to like clean these up quite badly, actually. But that's okay. I mean, I'm pretty good at making a huge mess when I'm crafting just on a normal basis, let alone when I'm doing this. So I will just kind of eyeball about how much of it I need. So we're going to go about like that. Put that back there. And because I've got two signatures, it's really easy to thread these through. So I'm just going to come up and down. May have to make some dangles for these. This one and my other one that I did the other day, but I have not felt like digging out the jewelry stuff to do it. Okay. So I'm not going to tie this super tight because I don't want it so tight that it's going to cut into the top of my signatures. Because this is an older book. It's from, I don't know, like early 70s. This literally, I had this same book when I was a kid. So just like my little Dinosaur one, which was one of my absolute favorite books as a kid when I was really, really little and I would read to myself. This was another one I remember having. I remember being like seriously creeped out by some of the dinosaur drawings in here. Like the, not this guy, not this guy. There's another one in here that just used to just about give me nightmares. I used to skip over him. I know he was one of them. This guy. Seriously, he is creepy as all get out, but that's okay. Alright, so cover at this point is good to go. I'm going to set this off to the side because I'm not going to do anything else with this right now. The two signatures. So all I have done at this point is just figure out the covers. So this is the Cartabella Dinosaurs cardstock from like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago that I did a whole album with, and I've still got quite a bit of it, so it goes really well with this, so that's what I'm going to use for this. So, yeah, so we do need to do a little bit of fixing on a couple of the pages, and I am almost out of which honestly, I was trying to decide. So you can see this one was sewn, and it's actually sewn in from the center a little bit, so I'm okay, I think, for the most part, not reinforcing the center on that. It's going to be on this front page, is absolutely going to need it, and I don't think I have enough of the actual book repair tape to do the whole thing. So the other thing I can use for that is washi tape. And let me see. Hold on one second. Do I have a whiter one or not? I don't think I do. This is the one that's sitting there right now is a white Doodlebug washi tape, and I don't think I've got another one that will work, and I don't know if that one's going to be quite wide enough. We're going to figure out how to make it work. So yeah, this is just a white, actually striped. Oh, you can actually see that on camera. Wow. Okay. That we are just going to go down the center to reinforce this. Okay, and see how it doesn't totally we're going to have to do a couple of rows of this. But when you're putting this down, this one specifically, there's a wider polka dot one they used to have. I don't think I have it anywhere. But it just, especially with it, you know, like the older papers like this that have kind of a patina to them, it does just like disappear on the paper. It's really cool. It is barely noticeable once you get it in here. And especially once we get this all finished off and sewn together and so on and so forth, then it'll be a whole, like, you're not going to notice that, okay? So that one's okay. This one, I don't remember if this one needed fixed too. This one actually is okay. So I'm going to leave this one. This one's good. Okay, so, excuse me. The next thing I typically do is, this is where I will go through old papers, envelopes, that kind of thing. I've got a couple of my containers with that stuff in it right here. And I was looking through some other and found this, like, you know, the paper they give you in kindergarten, first grade when you're learning to write, and I thought that would be perfect in this. So I've got 2 sheets of that. What we're going to do is figure out what papers, and then you're going to cut them to height. So this section on this one specifically, of course, is 8.5. So we're going to cut everything either 8.5 or below. But since these are a good height, and they are not going to line up if I try and do it that way, so I'm going to just fold them in half and set them to the side. Okay, so that one yet. I have got this one, and I have got like a whole bunch of really large vintage like ledger sheets and that kind of thing that I've gotten from Junk Gypsy Sisters that are in a container over to the side there, but they're big enough you always have to cut them down. So I was going to go through here first and see what I've got that doesn't need to be cut, that we can maybe just kind of put in. So like I've got offcuts from some of those in here that we can use these as smaller pages if we wanted to. In fact, I think I will use those too. And then I've got like just some book pages, and I've got little calendar pages. So this is like the bottom half or bottom section of one of those ledger sheets that's actually got some writing on it. Like there's a pattern piece. This is another one where it's the bottom section of one of those big ledger sheets. And this one, I know I've got several of this one, and they're from like 1886 or something like that. The handwriting's fabulous. This is an older one, but a kind of tall, skinny one. This is 1937. So this is one I could use. I'd end up cutting about 3.5 inches off of this, 3 inches off of this, because it's not quite 12 inches. And then you can save that other piece for tags or a separate smaller insert if you wanted to, that kind of thing. Like the graph paper here would be something I would probably fold in half and put in this way. That's a good one. I think I'm going to use that one. This is just like some onion skin type paper. I've got a bunch of these little folios. And when I say folio, it's literally just the papers that are still attached together in the middle like this from a calendar. This is Italian from 1915. And I think it was from an Italian pharmacy, if I remember right. So, you know, there's some kind of newer pieces in here. There's another one of those. Because that's actually like a duplicate sheet. So I'll use, with this one, I'll use 1/2 in one, 1/2 in the other, because there's the 2 pieces there. This is a more recent ledger. Again, this is an older one. In fact, I used another one of these in the other book. This is from, so it's got tomatoes, eggplants, pears, eggplants, pears, sweet potatoes, corn, and like just this running total for 1905. And just depending on where it was pulled out of the book, 1906, 1912, and then 1913. So very, very cool stuff. I think that's half of why I kind of fell in love with this, is it's just, if this is a timesheet, so I'm going to pull that one, is just the old papers and things, and using them, you know, the fact that people have saved this stuff just amazes me, honestly. We're going to use that little school paper somewhere. I don't want to use those. So like this is Railway from 1913. So these are Railway stock certificates from 1913. And I mean, the handwriting on these is just amazing. But again, because this is a folio, this would be something you would most likely sew in down the middle here, and then you would, this is not something where I would decorate the fronts of these. I might not even decorate the back of these in the book itself, but I think this one's going to be too big. Oh, actually it'd be okay. So I think we're going to put that in one. This is some opera thing. We've got a cute little calendar there. I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's fun. I really enjoy doing these because, see, I've got another one of those. I've got this little, pull that out, see if we want that in there. Just because this one is a little bit bigger, I can get a little bit more in there than I might be able to otherwise. Like, this is a receipt from like a life insurance policy. Fire insurance. Fire insurance, there we go. Quite a few of those. Got old checks, like, it's, I don't know, there's just some really neat stuff. This is, what was this? Flight manual, stall speeds. So I've got those in here for something else. Corvette's Auxiliary from 1953. So I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just find it fascinating that, you know, somebody held on to these things, and this is where, you know, they've ended up, rather than getting thrown away or burned or whatever, that, you know, they're finding new life of a sort in a different way. So that's just one of those things I think is very, very cool. Ooh, we're going to pull this one out. This little address book thing with the T on it, we'll put it with the Tyrannosaurus. See, there you go. So yeah, this is kind of my process when I am trying to figure out if it's not, because this is one thing, as I love getting the kits when Junk Gypsy Sisters does their classes and things. So this is obviously like newer. It's gotta be like 70s or 80s, because I think all of us of a certain age recognize this kind of paper. See, I've got like a report card from 1962. Got a little greeting card in there. I think that's probably good, because now we're getting into like smaller things, and I don't think I have anything in here that's going to be a dinosaur anything. Yeah, I think we're going to call that good. Their classes, if you're new to this, they don't always do golden books. I love when they do golden books. Those are my favorite ones to do, but they've done some really interesting ones. We did one, they did a class, I think last year, where you took the envelope from an old pattern, sewing pattern, and you adhered wallpaper on the inside of it to reinforce it. There's a whole process to it I'm not going to get into right now, to reinforce it to make it the cover of an album, of a junk journal, and that one was so much fun. I've got an entirely fabric one that you sew most of it that I have not started yet. That was a class they did. I haven't had time to really sit down and dig into that one, because that one's going to take a lot more work, because I haven't really sewn a whole lot in a long time. But they do them with just other book covers, so this would be considered like an other type of book cover, but because it's the story, I'm keeping the story intact like I would with a golden book, but it's just a different type of book, okay? So I think that's all we're going to pull out of there. And then I have got envelopes and pockets and things. I don't know what I have those for. So like I've got library pockets. I'm actually going to grab out a couple of those. Why do I think I have a whole new stack of those over here? I do. That all need to go in here. Okay. Are these older? Oh, these are. Okay. I want those instead. So, you know, I've got like little vellum envelopes that I could put here, which I think I like that one. And again, some of them are old, some of them are not. It just depends on, you know, what you want. And these are fun because what you'll do is you'll open it up, you'll fold it in half, and you'll sew it in and use it as, that can be fun, pockets. I saved that from something, I don't even know what. Those are newer. So like I could take one of these white ones and ink it up and, you know, get all fancy with it, which I might do on this book. Didn't want to do it on my dinosaur one. I wanted that one to be a lot more like cutesy, that kind of thing. Got a whole bunch of those. I've got some I saved from an advent calendar a couple of years ago that all have like a date on them or a number on them. Yeah, so that's what a lot of these are. I think that was the first Wish Upon Magic advent calendar like 3 or 4 years ago. Like I've got a trick or treat bag in here. I've got, you know, more of the library pockets. The coin pockets are always a fun one too. So pull a couple of those out. Like I said, I may not end up using all of this. Oh, we're gonna pull that out now. My little stack of cards over here. Because those are fun. And then I've got just, I think that'll do. I think that's gonna be enough. These cases are from Tailored Expressions. I actually have them with blending brushes in them in a thing back behind me here. But I had bought a bunch of them, not quite sure what I was going to do with them just because I really liked them. They're really good quality and they are like ideal for some of this stuff. Like I have them in a cabinet over here just like labeled. Okay. The other thing that I want to see if I've got anything that's going to work is going to be bags. So the little bags like this, oh, it's got twine in it. That means it must have come from 3 Craft Chicks. Depending on the size of the bag, you can fold them in half and sew them in that way. You can sew them in this way and like fold the end over on one side to make a little tuck spot. I actually do that a lot with these. I've got the small ones that you can attach like on a page or something as a pocket. I'm going to grab a couple of those out. I bought a ton of these bags at Echo Park's in-person store last summer. And they're just incredibly handy. So like little paper bags like this. So that would be one, and actually that one too, but let's try to find another color. Yeah, we can ink them and collage them. We could absolutely do that. So like this bigger one would be one you could sew in. I've got some little paper sacks from Michael's. Little things I've gotten at retreats that I've hung on to. So like that one's cute. That would have been a cute one in my other one. So like that, and like that. And then just some other random ones that are in here. So that'll be good for that. And I think I've probably pulled enough of this kind of thing that we can sit and kind of figure it out and put one of them together. Just to kind of show you the process. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put both of my signatures up here, and I'm just going to kind of go through and go, okay, we're going to do 1 and 1. Wherever my one with the little tab on it. Where did that go? Oh, it's right there. Okay, so that one I want to make sure I've got in with the Tyrannosaur, which I think is in this one. See, the last one he is. Okay, so that one's going to go on that side. And then we'll put this one over here. Stock one, I think we're going to go on this side. Timesheet, we're going to go over there. This one, we're going to split. We might end up trimming off the top of this, most likely. We're going to put a bag on each one. We're going to put one of these envelopes. These I'm going to hang on to. These I'm going to hang on to. And then let's go with that and with that. All right. So let's go with, is this the Dinosaur one? I think it is, yes. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, is first thing I want to make sure is, so like this one, I don't need to cut it to a height. So I'm just going to fold it depending on which way I want it to go. And set it aside. This one height-wise is good. So we can just fold that one and set it aside. My envelope is going to be kind of close on height, but that's okay because we can just trim that off. Since we have to trim that one, I'm going to put it over here. This one's going to need trim as well. So I'm going to set that over here. This one is fine the way it is. It's already folded. This one, we're going to leave it. We're not going to fold it exactly in half. We're going to go like so. Okay. This one is already folded, and that one's already folded. Okay. So these two need to be trimmed. As I'm dropping things over here, sorry. 1 second. Ugh. Okay, so this needs to be, we're going to go 8 inches, so I'm going to take that much off. That one's ready. This one, I want to take it off of this edge that's kind of messy. So we're going to go like that. And then we can fold this one in half. And we need to see, I'm going to fold that the other direction, because I have some other cool things that we're going to look at putting in the middle. So with the last junk journal start that I got from Junk Gypsy Sisters. And when I say I got a start from them, typically they'll include a book of some kind, and they'll include different ribbons that go with the theme or that match the book or whatever it happens to be. You'll get some cards, not those are ones I had. So like I have the little lenticular cards, I have this one about fossils, I have that, I have these like flashcards and different things. Like, look at this one, I love that one's cool. And then him. I have no idea where these came from. You know, and then like this kind of stuff. So you'll get things like that, you know, go with whatever the theme of the start is. But it is not enough to do an entire junk journal. Like, you would still need to find the other papers to go in there, pockets, that kind of thing. So like they had sent, and this was literally like 4 different starts that I have like put together at this point. We had these cute pages out of a book. These pages are just the best. So like they really kind of go with this. So I'm going to put one of these as my center page on one side. Probably that one. And then let's see here. Ooh, no, we're going to swap that. We're going to put him in the middle on this one. Okay, so that one's going to go over there. But these are things that you can, you know, put as pages in the books. You can put them on tags and do it that way, which we'll get into tags and stuff in a little bit. The other cool thing that was in the most recent start that I bought that I absolutely did not need another Dinosaur start, but it was too cool to pass up, were pieces out of a pop-up book. So like, how flippin' cool is this? Like this just, yeah, I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. Oh, like DVD covers are another good one. These are just some of the cut aparts from that Cartabella Dinosaurs collection. Where are my other ones? There they are. It's like I had like 3 or 4 of those pop-up pieces. So yeah, like that in the center of a book is just amazing. It will be so cool. So like I could use this guy. I'm going to have to cut him down a little bit. I can use this guy. Again, I'm going to have to cut him down a little bit. Like I've got bone pieces. Got this one. I think that is what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to use those two. And we're just going to have to figure out how to trim them down and how we want to put them in, like in their final spot. So we're going to put him here. We're going to put him here. So this guy needs to be trimmed down. And I need to leave enough for it to catch to sew in. So this one's going to be an easy one to cut down. I'm going to take this one down to 8.5. Okay. And that is going to go right smack in the middle. Okay. That's going to go behind it so that it's not distracting from the other pages. Really, if I wanted to, I could just take a piece of white cardstock or tea-dyed paper or something and attach this to it and then put it in there, but I think it's going to be fine just like that, because really it will kind of function, if I did it that way, they could function as pockets. Okay, this just I thought was like the coolest thing ever. Okay, so then we've got this little guy. How do I want to do this? This is why I don't record this stuff, seriously. Because I would like him to be in the middle, but I really want that in the middle too. So how do I want to do this? If I do it in the middle and I put it down towards the bottom, on this one it will work. On my other one, not so much. Okay, so I can use him for tags. You know what? That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I've got my center piece right behind it. I've got my center page from the actual book. I'm going to do a pocket. I am going to do... Did I put both of these over here? I think I did. I think I did something wrong. Okay. Alright, so this one we're going to put in here. And we're going to do our next page. Okay. I'm going to do my next one because here is my T-Rex, there is my T, and I want this guy on top. There's the creepy as I'll get out Flynn. We're going to do that. And then I think I'm going to put this and this in the front. Okay, so once it is all in place and closed up, which I will go through and fix this, this is just an example. You're going to have this, this that you can decorate, this that you can decorate. There's your first page of your book. Well, this is actually my second signature. There's the first page. Got this piece, we've got our pocket. Got the next piece of the book, and so forth. Okay. And then the very cool piece in the middle, and then back through. Okay. So that would be my first one. So, how many pieces? 1, 2, 10. Okay, 10 pieces. So somewhere, I think I had miscounted and I put a wrong piece in the wrong place. All right, so this one, okay, this needs trimmed down as well. I think I'm going to take it off of the top again. Yeah, definitely off the top. Because then we're not losing any dinosaurs or anything like that. So, again, on this case, I think I'm going to do this so it's like that. So again, we still have something blank behind it. I'll just have to make sure when I'm putting this one together that I get this positioned in here when I sew it so that it is completely back behind that. So anything we decorate on these, you're going to see through that page. Okay. All right. So then there's that one. This one needs trimmed down as well. Trim that. Okay. And then let's do this envelope. And I think the reason I love the dinosaur stuff so much is I grew up 25 minutes from Dinosaur National Monument. So, I mean, we went out there on school trips, you know, for field trips, because we lived like 3 hours from any major city, so our field trips were very sedate, to say the least. I don't want that one there. I want this one. So we, that piece needs reinforced. We went there a lot, and we had the museum there that had the dinosaur gardens with all the big statues, that I used to be absolutely terrified of the Tyrannosaur. Terrified, like there was no reasoning with me terrified. Fold that, make sure it's not closed the way I want it to. Here we go. I'll do another piece on the back. So yeah, I have always been interested in dinosaurs because of this. And then when I was a senior in high school, like that summer that I graduated from high school, I worked at the movie theater, and that was the year Jurassic Park came out. And because we were, you know, Dinosaur Land, and you had all the tourists coming through there and whatnot, that movie literally, not even joking, played the entire summer. That was the first movie in like, I don't even know how many years, that actually scared the ever-loving crap out of me. So, there you go. Fun story time. Alright, so that one, oh, I did have that other piece, didn't I? Was I going to do that, or was I going to use that on a tag? That's what that's there for. Okay, so I do need one more little piece to put in here, so let me look and see. Let's do one of these weird little perforated pages I have. Ugh. Okay. Alright, so he is short enough. Just fold him in half. Really, I probably should have gotten out some tea dyed or something, but I'm good. Alright. So, again, I'll get them, you know, more positioned and whatnot. But this will be our first signature. Open that up. You've got that little kind of perforated onion skin. You've got your little dinosaur page. And so on and so forth as you flip through. So now what I would do is go and sew this together on the sewing machine. You can sew it by hand. I do that sometimes. It just depends on how thick this is. This one's not thick, not too thick for the sewing machine, so I will use the sewing machine for this. I'll try and record it, but no promises. So yeah, I would get them all positioned where I want them, and then sew all of this together. Okay, so that would be next. Okay, so I didn't record the sewing because my sewing machine is in my office. My office is a disaster because I started cleaning out a closet over the weekend and didn't finish. I can barely get to the sewing machine as it is. So all I did is just stitch it with the sewing machine. However, you see how tight these stitches are? This is not correct. You need to use the widest stitch setting that you have on the machine. I wish mine would just stay on whatever it was on last time it was used, but it doesn't, and half the time I forget. I'll do one signature with the right stitch and the first one with the wrong stitch, because then I'll go, oh crap, both of these ended up with the wrong stitch. I didn't realize it till I went to trim my thread. But okay, so now this is sewn together, ready to go, and would just go in here like so. Okay, so what I wanted to do, because with like the little golden books, the pages inside the book are always, once you take the book apart and you flatten out that little golden spine, if you leave the spine intact like I tend to do, once you do that, then the pages are actually wider than the cover of the book. So the way I learned to do it, to get around that, was just to add the ribbon on the outside of the outside edges of the book, and then to the front of the front page of the signatures. Okay. In this case, I was able to put this cover together so that we should not have that problem. However, I do want to do a test fit of these to make sure. So what I'm doing with my pieces here that are wider than my base, that are these, you know, antique railroad stock certificates, I am just folding those in. My little T-tab here is hanging out. It's fine, I don't care. It can stick out a little bit, it's not going to bother me. Okay, so go back here. And this is why you don't want this piece to be too tight. You want to be able to get this in and out of here easily, especially once you've done whatever decorating. If you get chunky on the decorating, which I do sometimes, like I've got a, is it Cinderella? Was it my Cinderella one? I had a bunch of like chunky embellishments on the inside of it, so it was like severely huge. Okay, so the only thing I've got really hanging out is this, and I'm fine with that sticking out. It doesn't bother me. I could leave this, like leave the cover as is, and then go ahead and add some trim of some kind out here. I'm just gonna grab a piece that's sitting here. So like if I wanted to, I could add this on the outside, and then that would actually stick out the side. I might end up doing that just because I think it might look kind of neat. I just got to figure out what trim I want to use, and I don't know. But for now, we're good. If I decide not to do that, it's not going to be a problem. So I'm going to carefully pull these back out. I do not decorate with them in the cover. Okay, I do. In fact, this is the other part I'm kind of struggling with, how to kind of walk you through how I do this, because it depends on the book, it depends on the papers, it depends on a lot of things as far as how much I actually decorate in here and how much of it ends up just being tags and inserts and things that I can tuck in here, rather than going through and decorating every single page, like collaging it or inking it or whatever. This one, since my papers for the most part are kind of have that same patina as the book itself. I don't really need to ink any of those. Some of my tags and things I absolutely will end up inking. And it depends on the book itself, again, as far as what color of ink I use. Most of the time it's the Tim Holtz Distress Photo is a good one. Tailored Expressions Mushroom is a good kind of gray-brown. And then Tailored Expressions Latte? I don't remember if it's latte or mocha. It's one or the other. Is a good brown if you do, you know, in place of the Distress ink. And it dries faster than the Distress ink, so there is that too. So like this here, I could glue this down to make this one page and make these pockets. I don't think I will, but you know, it absolutely would be something I could do. And this one, these are so unique and just such a cool idea. I would never have thought to take apart a pop-up book like that and then use those pieces somewhere else. But anyway, that was just too cool. In fact, that and this specific book were in the last start that I bought. I was like, I do not need any more Dinosaur. And then I saw that and I was like, oh, except for that one. So that's kind of what this got this started. I pulled all my Dinosaur stuff out and sorted it out and was like, okay, I'm going to do the little Dinosaur, I'm going to do this one, and then I've got enough for either one or two more Dinosaur books. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what I end up using. I may end up using a lot more stuff in this than I planned on originally, and we'll go from there. So yeah, so let me get some things figured out and I'll be back. Okay, I'm gonna start with a couple of easy things as far as going through one of the signatures and kind of embellishing and whatnot, just because I don't have like a set process. I literally will flip back and forth and go to the other one and flip through it and find a page and go, oh, I could put this here, and then I'll flip through it some more. Like, it is the most disorganized I am out of any project that I do. But the more I sat and looked at this, I think I am going to adhere this back page, or the page that I centered up behind the openings on this, just because it's a good size, like the opening is, to actually make it into like pockets. I don't know, I just think it'll be kind of neat. Well, they're not going to be very deep though, so now I'm second guessing myself again. So it only tucks in about that. No, I think it'll still be okay. Just so I don't accidentally get too much glue, I am going to use the finer tip glue bottle on this. It helps if I turn on my lights, huh? There we go, look at that. We have light. So I'm just going to very carefully go right along that edge. And that's the other thing too. Some of these I decorate really heavily, some I don't. When they're book ones like this, so like the golden books, or in this case this little Dinosaur book, I'm probably not gonna decorate it as heavily because I don't want to take away from the book itself. But when it's one where you're just using a book cover and picking a theme and then, you know, building the signatures 100% from scratch, as opposed to filling in some pages in between a story, those I tend to decorate a lot more heavily because they need it. This, like, you know, like you get in here on this first page, not first page, you know, you've got one entire page that's just one of these illustrations that's just really kind of cool. So I don't want to add anything to that. I could add some things on here, and of course all of my stuff that's in between, so like, that didn't glue, because of course not. And then I found Dinosaur washi tape, but it's Doodlebug, and I think it's too cutesy for what I'm trying to do here. But like, you've got this Stegosaur, and this one, when it got sewn together, I so jacked it up, but it'll be fine. You know, like the Ankylosaur, all of this stuff, you know, you've got these pretty, you know, these very nice prints in here that I don't necessarily want to mess with, okay? On the cover of this signature I had this large die cut of an ankylosaur, and so I just kind of wrapped that around, and I'm going to end up doing the same thing on the other one. So I've got my pteranodon that I'm going to do the same thing with. This one, where my opening here isn't as big, I'm not going to attach the back or the page behind it to the back of that, because I don't, you know, that, and it's a thinner paper, you're going to see the words behind it, so it's not as conducive to making a pocket out of it as the other one was, because the other one's got such big open space. So that's kind of my thinking there. I've got a bunch of really cute, which I had to go through and sort through and figure out which ones I wanted to use. I've got these little cards that are, I don't know what they're from, but they've got like information about different dinosaurs and stuff. And I did have one of them that's the same as one of the dinosaurs that's in the book, so I've got that one pulled. So I'm going to put those in. I've got this little dinosaur card. It's got kind of a creepy looking T-Rex on it, and I'll cover up the back side with something, not that necessarily. This was out of like a sticker book or something. And then I've got these other ones that have the illustration on the front, and then they have facts about the dinosaurs on the back. And I've got several of those. Oh, I did. Where did I put them? There they are. No, I guess I only pulled two of those. That, you know, these I won't do anything to other than just to tuck them in the book somewhere. I've got some pages I can use to do tags and things. I've got different little pockets and things pulled out. And then I forgot I had this. I've got an older, like, photo book of Dinosaur National Monument. I don't know if I'm actually going to use this or not. This one's actually pretty much intact, and I don't know that I want to mess with it. But I've got some pages from another one that are kind of taken apart. So if you're not familiar with Dinosaur National Monument, that is where they have the wall of dinosaur bones, where they're actually excavating it and leaving the bones in the wall, and you can go in and see when they're working on it and the bones are just there. It is such a cool thing. I don't know how else to explain it, but I found those last night when I was going through my dinosaur stuff. So, you know, I might end up using these in there. I'm not honestly sure, and they've got information on the back, so again, I don't want to like permanently attach them. And then I've got some bigger postcards of like the river and stuff that runs down through Dinosaur National Monument, because the monument itself is huge. The little part over here is on the Utah side. Only a very small part of Dinosaur National Monument is in the Utah on the Utah side, but this part, the cool part, is on the Utah side. So I've got some little, like, I don't know what these are, like bingo pieces? I don't know, from some kind of game. I don't know what it is. And then I've got, you know, different pieces from that Cardabella collection. I've got, which I've actually got like 2 entire collections that I unearthed that I didn't realize I still had that much of that paper, because it is one of my absolute favorites. So this one specifically, I'm probably going to cut these strips apart and use them for pockets, either here or on the inside of the cover, like the hardcover part of the book. Haven't decided quite yet. But that's just some kind of options. And then of course tags and things. I know I did a reel kind of showing how to do these little sail tags to cover them and then do that slit so you can tuck something into the tag. Excuse me. I've not had enough to drink today, and I can definitely tell. I've got like library cards. I've got the little bags and things that I pulled out last night. You know, so this would be something that I would decorate. I've got, you know, just like a random bingo card and like a library card, like card catalog card, and, you know, tags and things. I've got a little time card, which I don't know if I'm going to use that. That may go back in the stash. This one, where it's just the words and things, where it's talking about the dinosaurs, I might actually like cut that up and collage that onto one of the tags. In fact, that's most likely what I'll end up doing there. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right at the moment. I'm going to start working on this, and if I come up with anything really, you know, unique or something that, you know, there will be more to this. I'm just not sure at this point where to start because I am so disorganized when I do these. Like I go back and forth and I'll think I'm done and I'll set one signature aside and work on the other one and I'll go back to the first one. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to how I do these. Whereas my normal mini albums, there's usually a plan. There's never a plan. So, one thing we could do, actually, we could go ahead and alter the bingo card. So what I would typically do with this, if I can find my little napkin piece over here that I was going to use. Here it is. So what I'm going to do is I've got this little dinosaur napkin. So this is literally just like a napkin from like a kid's birthday party or something like that. And you want to peel off the layers until you get to just the very top thinnest layer, okay? So what I'm going to do, and I'm new to doing it this way, I just started doing it. Normally I do this with score tape. However, this specific glue stick, it's the one that goes on purple, dries clear, does work really well, I gotta say. So I'm gonna kind of figure out where I need to put the adhesive. So we're gonna kind of go down here and up to that corner and then across. So like that. I think that should be good. And then you're still seeing through that there's a bingo card underneath there. But now we've kind of got the dinosaurs going on. Yeah, just a little bit more here. And down over here. And set this aside to dry. I can come back in here after this is dried. So I'm just gonna like roughly tear off my edges here. And, you know, if I had other, you know, papers or something I wanted to collage on here with it, I could. I can add some stickers or something, because I know I've got some stickers over here somewhere. Let me grab those. And then I've got a ton of like ephemera pieces too. Because like I said, this is the horde of elements here is the combination of like, excuse me, like 3 or 4 different junk journal starts. So like I could put this guy on here, I could put this little guy on here. I don't want that one I'm saving for a different one. I've got like all of these little dinos. I've got these guys. I think we're gonna do, I think this is a sticker, right? Is it just an older one? There we go. Come on. Yeah, so like this guy, except he's getting really lost on there. So I think I'm gonna hang on and put him on something else. I just don't know what. So let's put him back on his thing because he's a little more see-through than I would like. There we go. We can do that. I'm having a really hard time not just like whipping out the rest of this collection and just going to town, but it's just got such perfect elements for this one. I don't know. That's the hard part with some of these like this, where it's not something that I have a ton. Well, I mean, I've got a decent amount of ephemera, but I tend to get into my head like, this is how I want to do this, and then I try to make it fit the vision, and it's not always possible, and then I make myself crazy. And I think this is going to be one of those albums where that's exactly how this is going to go down, but that's okay. All right, so that would be altered. You could cover the back, you could ink the back, you could leave the back as is. I probably will leave it as is, and I'll set that one aside until I'm ready to find it a home. You know, we could take one of these little library pockets and ink this. Which I think I want. Yes, that one right there. So we are going to go ahead and use Taylor Expressions Latte ink, and I am going to ink the top part of this library pocket. Okay. I think I need to ink this one. I have used the heck out of this ink pad in the last month or so, and it probably needs re-inked, but that's okay. So see, I can ink that up, and then my little too light for the other thing, Dinosaur, can go on there, and then I can add something like, I've got this little bitty Jurassic sticker, and these little bitty palm trees of a sort, and we can put this little, there we go. So that one is ready to go in the book. I could ink it more, I could decorate it more. I actually kind of like it more simple like that, so that I can come in here and I can go, okay, let's put this on. Let's put this on this page right here. So I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that down, and then I could take, you know, one of the library card pieces here and go ahead and ink this up and decorate this one as well. I could use some more of that napkin. I've got a little matte piece here that I could do something with. You know, obviously I've got, oh, these are kind of neat actually. I've got these like little scraps of kind of a, you know, like lizard skin looking paper, which might be kind of cool, you know, on there, and then ink the other half. You know, it's literally, it doesn't have to be all tied together. It doesn't have to be all matchy-matchy. I literally will get on a page and go, okay, I'm going to do this here. And then I'll flip further back in the book and go, okay, back here I'm going to do something completely different. And then I'll flip back over here and go, okay, well that's done. Let's do something on here. Because like this would be a pocket, so most likely all that's going to go in that is going to be one of those like little cards that I was just showing you. And I have now misplaced. Ah, there's one. So like that's what's going to get tucked in there. And I mean, I might punch a hole and put some ribbon on that. Honestly, I probably will. That actually makes sense. But like, you know, I've got like the little domino pieces, and I've got, you know, like this little, I wanted to call that chit chat, and that's not it, because that's not Doodlebug. You know, little things like that that I can just, you know, stick here and there. Like I said, the pages that have the dinosaurs on them, I'm going to leave completely alone. Or we've got something written. I might add something, I might not. I honestly, you know, like something like this would be kind of cool on there, but I don't have a ton of these, so, you know, it's just a matter of, or like the dinosaur eggs would be kind of neat. Or, ooh, there we go. See, there you go, something like that. And yeah, that's just kind of the process. You just kind of go through, put stuff where it feels good. So I was trying so hard to be much more organized with this one. This signature is pretty much done. So I'm going to kind of walk you through, and then we'll go through a couple of things that I'm going to do on this one. So like I said, I've got my big die cut piece. It was kind of trying to split a little bit, so I just used clear packing tape on there, and it actually worked perfectly. So I added a pocket on the front and back inside of my cardstock cover for my signature. This was just, you know, pieces that I'd had that were out of the various Dinosaur junk journal starts I had gotten from Junk Gypsy Sisters. That clearly did not stay where it was supposed to stay. This is supposed to be a little fold out, but my washi tape did not want to stick. So I've got my bingo card that we did together. This I wanted to keep whole because it's got all of the different periods there, and then it's got the thing about, you know, the fossils, finding the fossils. This is just a little tuck spot, and I just did this as like a tip out with the washi tape. This was a, excuse me, just like a little coloring card that was in one of the junk journal starts somewhere along the way, and I just used ink, so like a foam blender and then the little tiny blender to do the dinosaur, just to give it some color. Just added that there and put a little ink on it. That's as is. I've got some little I've got several different map pieces that I'm going to use throughout both of these, just because it seemed to kind of fit with this, with the theme. So this was actually like a 49 in Market that I found. We've got some more of the dinosaur stuff. This, because it's that, you know, more vintage, that is where I'm going to put one of my paper clips, which we'll talk about those in just a second. One of the library pockets that I just inked and added some of the stickers to. Another pocket there, just some ribbon that came out of some kit. I used some of that cool scale paper down here. I've got some more pieces there. This is another one of these 49 in Market, and I did put that little envelope on the inside of it. And that's just a tuck spot with another 49 in Market map piece. And I've got some like Tim Holtz ones that I found and just random stuff. This came off of a children's dictionary page. This I ended up gluing to make this into like pockets on both sides, or tuck spots really, probably more so. On the back I've got just another little pocket piece thing I had from an ephemera kit, and some other little pieces there. Again, one of the cut aparts from the dinosaur collection. This was one of those book pages that I tore down and kind of inked. And then again with the scale paper, antique paper I didn't do anything to. This is another pocket with a tuck spot over here that I just inked. Again, this was actually half and half of the same little page, so I did just kind of tear those and adhere them on either side. And then another little coin envelope this time that we can actually close the flap on. And this one I didn't want to tear off his tail, so his tail's just kind of flopping there because I don't know what else to do with him. And then I did another fold out on this side, so this will come out all the way this way. And then on the other side we got the Ankylosaurus. And then this is another pocket. Okay, so that's kind of how the first signature shook out. All right, so for my second one, we're going to take this border strip, cut it in half to do a pocket. So I'm going to cut it down to 6 inches, and then that gives us the Stegosaurs on one half and the Gallimimus on the other half. Yes, I actually know the names of the dinosaurs because I am a dork and I am proud of it. And like I said, I was raised near Dinosaur National Monument. This is like, you know, we're going to trim that down to 5 3/4. Which may be a hair under. I'll do the same thing with this one. Just a hair under, just so we don't have it running into like when we're trying to close this. Okay. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue around the outside edge. And we'll put that one down there. We'll do this one in the back. So typically anymore, I don't save my scraps from paper collections unless they're Doodlebug, or if I know I've got the beginnings of a junk journal, or they may work in a future one, and it's, you know, mostly it ends up being ephemera, sometimes cut aparts, sometimes cardstock. I don't save everything. Like, I don't save little pieces because I just don't. No. So like going through this, so we've got little holes on this one. So what I would typically do there, that actually works. So find my scissors. With this one, I typically would kind of thread it through. Maybe. If we can crunch this down enough to thread it through. Okay. And crunch it down over here. And thread it through. Get it flat on that side. And then what I'll do on this side is I will take my tape runner and do a little line, because this is like almost kind of a papery feel ribbon, not like a ribbon you would, you know, sew with or use as a closure or something, because it's not quite the right texture, but it works really well for this kind of thing. So I'm going to trim that off there, trim this one off like that. And then I can add whatever else I decide I want to add right there. So I've got, you know, some different little map pieces here. I've got actually a little map transparency that I kind of like right there. So, because it is a transparency, I want clear tape for the back of that, just in case you can kind of see it through there. And this is, we're going to kind of put that down like that. Let's see what we've got as far as dinosaur stickers. Just kind of put with it. That one. And that will be good. So that's, I mean, literally that is my process. So like here, I've got dinosaur eggs, and I think I'm going to trim that down to like a 4x4. Not quite 4x4. Trim that down like so. Put this down as like a tuck spot to the inner piece here. And then one of my, you know, cute little flashcards can get tucked down in there. This one I'm not going to do anything to. This is where one of my paper clips will go. Like I said, we're going to do those in just a second. So like this, I have got, like I said, I've got little map pieces. I've got all kinds of different little ephemera pieces. I have got some other little dinosaur stickers over here. I've got some of my little Dinosaur National Monument pieces. That might be kind of fun. Put this little piece on top. No, you know what? I'm going to leave that little piece on the top because I can take some. Nope, not that. Got like this 49 Market fabric tape that I can put kind of along the top. And make it into like a little flip so that you can still read about it on the back if you wanted to. So we're going to do that there. And let's see here. We've got like a little dino sticker right there. Here we go. And it's literally, that's it. Like, there's no rules. You can do, and I know I said this already, so apologize that I'm repeating myself, but as I'm doing this, it kind of hopefully makes a little more sense. And there's Gus to let us know he's here. And because my husband's out of town, so he's like beside himself that Nobody's here but us. Okay, so I've got this little cut apart piece I could put on the back there, the paleontology department one. I'll come back to that. This one I've got those little holes again, so let me see what else I've got over here. Or where's my other? I had a thing with ribbon in it. There it is. So like I've got a whole bunch of different ribbons and things in here. I've got some fibers. I think that's what I want to do. So open that up. Let's see what I've got. That one right there. That's perfect. Okay, so let me find the end. Don't think that's it. Somewhere here. There we go. So this I will do just like I did with the other one. We're going to thread it. Actually, no, we're going to do this one a little bit different. So I'm going to thread it through like that and trim it off. I like this. Forgot I had this one over there. I would have used it on the other half. Not that I couldn't go back. Actually, it'll probably end up on some tags too. Okay, I'm going to tie that off, and then I'm going to cut myself another little piece and do the same thing on the top one. And yeah, and just, you know, continue on in that vein with, you know, whatever strikes me as something different, something kind of fun. Okay, so there we go. So I could add something else here, like I've got this little stegosaur. I don't think I want to use him though. What else have I got over here? I've got like this weird little tag piece right there, which I can just do some glue on the bottom. Make him into like a little tuck spot if I wanted to. This side I'll leave alone so that if I did actually come back and, you know, journal in here, or, you know, I've got pictures of my son at the Dinosaur Museum in Vernal, and I've got him at Dinosaur National Monument, so I could, you know, come in here and add that kind of thing. So with the kids paper, like the grade school lined paper, that's what I'm trying to say. Like I've got my little, this little guy I could put on here. I've got papers again. So I've got this that was part of a book cover. I've got some of these. I love that page. I'm trying to decide if I'd like to save that page. I think I do want to save that one for somewhere else or something else. I don't want them. So I've got the skulls. So let's do that. So we're going to just tear this. Okay. And then I'm going to tear it down a little bit more, just so we've got that same kind of edge all the way around. Okay. And then this little thing, I'm going to save for now. I might not end up using it, but we're going to leave it there for now. Okay, so I've got those two guys. I'm going to grab my paper that I've been inking on top of, so I don't get it all over my desktop, which is usually what I do, and then I get it on other stuff and I get mad at myself. So I'm just going to kind of grunge up those edges a little bit. Which they don't totally need it. I just felt like doing it. This is like the one place you will usually find me inking things is when I'm doing these. Okay. So those I don't want to use glue on those. Let me grab my tape runner again. Just because I know this school paper is a little bit thinner. I don't want the glue causing it to wrinkle. So I end up, when I'm doing these, using kind of a combination of both the tape, the glue, score tape, you know, whatever I happen to have. Okay, so on this back side, okay, I don't think I want any of those right now. What else have I got over here? I don't want to cut that up. I should have, that would have been a good like center page. So I think I'm going to hang on to that for another book somewhere along the line. Oops, let's throw away the cards here. Okay, so we've got this guy. Don't really want to do that either. And this one, oh, this is attached. Nope, I don't want to use that one either. And I'm saving that for something else. Okay. Let's see here. What have we got? What do I have that are not the little flashcards with the information on them? These little guys. Because these just have, well, they have that cute dinosaur on the back. That little piece that I was hanging on to. No, I was going to put that on a tag. Just kidding. That little map piece. Okay, so let's do that one. I'm just going to kind of collage this maybe a little bit. No, because I don't want to cover up the rest of the lines there, so maybe we'll call that little piece good. Where are those little maps frame things I have? I've got like these little chipboard map frames. Let's do that. Okay, there we go. Okay, this one, because this is that old railway paper, I am not doing anything to this except putting a paper clip on it. Let me find my little... See, when I say this is chaos, this is what I mean. Like, I literally don't know where anything is at this point. Aha, there's my little... little scale paper that I love so much that I wish I had like a full sheet of. That would just be amazing for this. Okay, so I'm going to put that. I did the same thing on the envelope on the other book, that I added that, and then I added one of these pieces. Kind of tucked in. And on the back side, let's do, you know, I've got another sheet of, actually I've got two of them. We're going to use this guy because I like him. Okay. All right. So this one, because we've got the little hole again, I will take another little fiber piece of a ribbon or something. some of that one. Okay. So you kind of get the general idea. So I will just go through here doing this same thing I've been doing. I might do some little tip out pages on this one if I can. If I, have somewhere to do them. Or I find one I want to do. Because what did I have over here? Was I going to use this on tags though? Yeah, because I've got this one that's like all just talking about the dinosaurs, so I was thinking of using those on tags. I've got this map piece that is an actual antique map page that I could put right there if I wanted to. But you kind of get the general idea, okay? So let me show you paper clips. So I had shown how to do these, or how to get these prepped on a reel with the other dinosaur books. So these are little bottle cap pieces and they come with the tops. And I got them on Amazon. I don't remember how much. They were not expensive, and it came with a ton of them, like 10 each of 10 different colors or something like that. And all you do is just either E6000 or the clear Gorilla Glue. And then it has to sit like overnight. But the 1/8 inch score tape is like the perfect height to set them on so that your paper clip part of it stays level and doesn't like try to, not be level, I guess. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here. You know what I mean. Okay. So then from this point, all you have to do is take a 1-inch circle punch, or in this case, like I've got some little ephemera pieces over here that will fit in there perfectly. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue to the back side of him. I put him in a black one. And then I grab the 1-inch circle punch. So like I could take this paper and I could go, okay, I want a little Stegosaurus here. Okay, so I'm going to punch him out, put a little bit of glue on the back side of him, and drop him down in there. And then let's see here, what else have I got? Do I have any little sticker ones that I can use? Not that are round and the right size. That's okay. So let's see here, what else have we got? I know there was a piece in here I saw that I was trying to save for this purpose, and now I don't know what I've done with it. Because, God forbid I be at all organized with this, because I'm not. If you saw where is not visible on the desk, you would die. It never gets this bad when I'm doing just normal projects. Okay, so I really could just continue to punch out dinosaurs off of this. Like I could do my little Triceratops there, would be cute. And then let's do this little guy over here. Okay, so we're just gonna pop them down in there. And then glossy accents is my preference on this next step. Because again, these guys are gonna have to sit and dry. Or if not glossy accents, then the Nuvo Crystal Glaze, which is what I have. Like I thought I was out of the other stuff. Okay, so all I do is just put a little bit in the middle, like that. And then the back off of that. And then just push those down in, and that's going to seal everything in there. And again, these are going to have to go sit and dry for a little bit. Not a big deal. If you don't have the tops, if you have something like this, like you have an actual vintage bottle cap that you want to use, or something like that, or some other like little jewelry piece or whatever, and the glass top is too heavy, you can actually just flood the top of that with the crystal glaze or the glossy accents, and oh my gosh, seriously, get essentially the same effect. So these will go back into their tray, maybe. Did I get the tray? There it is. So I will just set these back in their tray, move them out of the way so they can sit and dry. But then that dries completely clear, and you've got super cute little paper clips that you can clip onto, you know, pages you don't want to decorate. So like this. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to keep working on this, and when I come back, we'll do tags. Okay, tags. The one that I really like to do best is, like to do most. I know what I'm trying to say, I promise. Is with the napkins. So I've got a quarter of a napkin here. What you want to do is peel it down. This one's only 2 layers. Until you've just got the 1 layer. You can either use the glue stick, the one I talked about earlier. I like doing them with tape. I don't have a problem. I know some people think it's easier doing it the other way. It is entirely personal preference. So I will cover the back of this with tape. Okay, actually I'm going to cover both of them. Since they're here, we can absolutely do that. They'll come apart. Same thing I do when I'm like making the mini album covers. That all, oops, don't go flying off the desk. Okay. And then we'll cut that apart. Get that extra tape trimmed off here. Okay, so that one's good to go. Get the tape off my fingers. And I've got like a whole stack of tape because I literally could not, the math was not mathing as far as how much I was going to need off of one of these, or which width I was going to need. So I'm going to go with 3/8, which is probably a little bit wider than I need. Actually, I think it's going to be okay. Alright, so again, I'm just going to clean up my edges just like I would doing a mini album cover. If, you know, I don't want that extra tape hanging out there, so I need to be careful because I just changed the blade in that day before yesterday. And that's all we need is to slice my finger open. Particularly since my husband's gone. He's out of town, and it's not like Nick could take me to get stitches if I needed them. Alright, so got both of those, and since both of these will fit with the one piece, I'm going to do them side by side. So like I said, I am comfortable doing it this way. If you're not, you want to just like pull off part of the tape, or you want to use the glue stick. Either way works. Lay that one down there. I just find I get a smoother adhesion of the napkins doing it with the tape than with the glue. Now, the bingo card that I did at the beginning where I did use the tape, or I'm sorry, the glue as opposed to the tape, is because I was trying to cut, you know, I didn't want that at like the perfectly trimmed off edges like this. And that's literally the only difference between them. Okay. So I'm going to fold that in half right there. Slice that. And then you can tear your edges, you can trim your edges. I'm going to trim mine. I need to de-sticky my scissors again, because there's just, everything's sticking. Everything is sticking, but that's okay. Okay, so I've got that. I am literally just going to pop my hole with my scissors like that. Let me get this off of my hand. And like I said, they don't have to be perfect. If I was doing this to put in like a mini album or something, I would be much more concerned with, you know, how clean my edges are. In this case, I'm not worried about it. And there we go. Then I would just add ribbon or trim or something. You can add other things on top of this. So like I could take, you know, my little piece here. I could take maps. I could take, you know, like my little dinosaurs. I could, you know, I can continue to build on this base. You can do both sides. So another thing that you can do, we'll just do one of these, is the fabric. So I'm going to do one with fabric. Actually, let me get another tag. Let me grab one more tag. 1 second. All right. So that I would do the exact same way with the tape. I don't remember. You'd think I'd remember. I've done enough classes with Junk Gypsy Sisters. And like after you've done a couple of classes like that, you kind of, you know, get into a groove of what you want and how you want to do yours. And that's kind of the point I'm reaching. I still, you know, I'm still learning. I'm still, you know, experimenting and playing and, you know, all that kind of thing. But if you are thinking about trying this, the Golden Book ones are definitely, I think, the easiest to do. But the other ones are fun. And quite honestly, just go follow Junk Gypsy Sisters. They'll have another class coming up. In fact, I'm trying to remember if the next one they're doing, if it was, I know they've said, and I cannot for the life of me remember. I'm not going to worry about that little 1/8 of an inch, but you could if you wanted to. And I need better scissors for this. So I'm going to turn that with the good side of the fabric facing down. I want to say they're doing, is it Pokey Little Puppy? I don't remember. It was one that I was like, oh, that's fun. It was not one I'm interested in, but I'll of course share that when they do post that class. I think it's supposed to be posted, I want to say maybe the end of this month. I don't remember for sure. And across. All right. And then trim this. These are my ribbon scissors, the one I cut ribbon for kits. These are the scissors I use because they're actually sharp enough to cut through this. Except apparently right there because I'm rushing more than I normally would, but that's okay. It happens. All right. So there is that. This I typically will punch with the Crocodile or the Power Punch, the Mirror Memory Keeper's Power Punch, which is the one I use most of the time when I'm punching stuff for like albums and whatnot. But, you know, there we go. We've got that. So I've got those tags ready to go. The other one, of course, would be the obvious one with like papers and things. The other two that we're going to do are going to be the two little library cards. So this one And you can see it's like they're going to fit on here a little bit differently. Actually, that's going to fit just about like I want it. So with this one, I'm going to kind of tear my edges. And we're going to put this one down on here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just do it tapering just to save us some time. Like so. And then I can add more to it if I want to. I am going to ink just a little bit on this. Oh, I shouldn't be doing it on this. There we go. Just to kind of, you know. And this is Tailored Expressions Green Tea. I have all their little ink tubes and I love them. So this one is going to be a little bit different because we've got, it's pretty much the size I want it to be. But I'm going to tear this at an angle going up. Okay. This one, I don't know that I'm going to ink. This one, the white on this is not quite as pronounced, at least to my eye. And I'm not going to like do anything with the edge. I'm going to go like that. These we are going to leave as they are. So let's grab the book. Now we need some ribbon or some trim or something on these. So let's do, this one will work. Got stuff everywhere. So rather than cut it too short or too long, I tie them and then I cut them. Because even just doing something that simple, I'm still bow challenged. I'm not tying challenged. I'm ribbon tying challenged. I am just not good at the tying of the things. But that's okay. And that will be about perfect. We'll finish this off with this one right here. And you can do front and back. I usually will just do the front because they're going to get tucked in. And then if, you know, you were using this for something else, if I were to, you know, go through my finished junk journals and sell them, somebody could attach a picture or journal or whatever on the back side of that with no problem. So, got the 3 tags we just made. I have got my library cards, and then I have got all of my little flash cards and info cards, and one little card that said Dinosaur and then had like a ball on the back that I just attached one of those ephemera pieces to the front. This is just stretchy lace. I got it on Amazon. I've had pieces of it here and there, and I never can find them when I want to. So we are just going to, so nothing we need to do there, but we could tuck one of our cards in there, because that is a tuck spot. I'm going to have to kind of glue that, aren't I? That's another pocket. I think I'm actually going to put him in there. This little one, we're going to put him. That one is flat, that is flat. Library card pocket, we're going to tuck like so. This pocket, I'm going to put a couple of these bigger cards in here. Okay, this one, we're going to put one of these, and you could attach ribbon to those if you wanted to. This one, we'll go with one of these guys, like so. That's good. So then here, let's use these smaller guys. And then there. I'm going to run out of tags before I even get to the second half of this book, I can tell you right now. Alright, so this one, let's find another one of those little cards. this one, I've got some other little tiny ones that have like, I don't like that one's like, let's tuck that one in there. And of course, you know, paper clips that are not dry yet. I'm leaving this one as is because I don't have anything tiny I really want to tuck in there. I can tuck a shimmer piece in there. Let's do that. This is fine. This is another fold out. This pocket and then the one in the front. The one in the front we have something in. This one I'm going to leave for now. And then the second one, which we worked on part of this together, so we've got another pocket there. And this is just a little tuck spot piece. So we're going to tuck that in there. That I just used leftovers. This, we're going to stick one of these guys in there. Nothing we need to do here. That we need to glue. It does not want to stay down. That's where one of the paper clips is going to go. Let's put, is that going to fit? Nope, that one is not going to fit there, so we're going to go with, nope, that doesn't either. Let's go with one of the small guys. That's probably why I have them. Alright, so what I ended up doing here, because I've got those pop-up book pages, I just had a couple more of the cut-aparts from that dinosaur collection that had a dinosaur. I just thought that kind of came out kind of neat. And then that is flat. And then this other little pocket there. That I just did a little flip up again with one of those postcards. This is flat. This guy, I didn't do anything on the front. On the back, I did put the little T-Rex with the T-Rex on the T-tab. Haha, there we go. That was the plan. We're going to use another one of these little red cards in here. Because again, that's the same thing with the bag where we've glued the sides on the bottom part of that bag to make a little pocket. I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to take one of my tags here. I'm going to take, where's the, oh, I know where it is. It's coming up. I'm going to put this guy in here. This one, I need something else small. So what have I got over here that we have not? I've got one more of those would fit. He will. There we go. Perfect. And there's my last library pocket. And my other little cards we'll just tuck in there. I didn't do anything on the front and back inside cover. You absolutely could. But, I mean, this thing got pretty dang chunky. I could have gone wider on my spine. I tend to do that, but that's okay. And then we will just take our little stretchy ribbon, and there we go. That is the entire thing. We are still waiting. Let me double check on the paper clips and see if these have dried enough. Kind of looks like they might have. So with those, and I'm going to start in the back here. I am just going to slide that down. There's my other half of that paper. There it is. And then I'll tuck another one down on here. And then in my front part, it's entirely up to you, but I'm going to tuck one of these guys over here. And then let's find that one. We're going to put that little guy down in like that. Okay, so then you've got your little paper clips on your bottle caps that are sticking out the top. Got my little stretchy lace on there to hold everything closed. And there we go. That is my junk journal process. If you've stuck with me this far, I appreciate it because this one was a big old mess. But if you picked up some tips, if you've learned something, if you want to try one of these on your own, if you want to try a class, go check out Junk Gypsy Sisters. They offer supplies. They are on Whatnot every single week selling junk journal starts that would give you like a book and some of your basic, like your cards and your stickers and your pictures and some cardstock and fabric and ribbon and trim and all kinds of things that go with it. You would still need to add a few elements to it, but it gives you a good start, which is the point. Sometimes they do sell full kits on their Whatnot shows, not always, but once you kind of get into this and you start kind of collecting your own stuff, it's so much fun. It's just It's fun. There's no rules. You kind of do what feels good to you in the moment. So thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon.